Ma'alat Arav, Tishkun Shrim Rabot, Ne'emot V'tovot. We're continuing the study of the Tariag Mitzvot. We're up to number 353. It's a Mitzvat Aseh in Lo Ta'aseh in Parashat Bechukotai. And that is the law Leha'arich Behema Shiyiten Kefi Shi'archen HaKohen. The pasuk is Ve'emid et HaBehema Lefnei HaKohen Ve'erich Ota HaKohen Ota. It's in Perek Chav Zayin pasuk Yud Aleph. What's the case we're talking about? The person, let's say, had an animal and he consecrated it as a korban, so it's kodesh. He has to bring it on the mizbeach. Now let's say the animal became a Baal Mum, so now he has to replace it. Problem is he has to replace it with the equal value of the first korban. So he has to make an assessment to know exactly how much the first korban was worth. So the Torah comes along and says, "Ve'emid et behema." My apologies, it's a positive commandment. Ve'emid et behema. You bring the behema in front of the kohen. It's called ha'amada, and the kohen makes an assessment ve'erich, and then based on the price that he tells you, then you have to replace it with another korban. Now, this law, the Chinuch writes, is noheget ben bezecharim ben benekevot. The lady can also bring a korban. It only applies, however, bisman habayit. The law of ha'amada clearly does not apply today. Bisman hazeh, the Hachamim said, we don't make animals hekdesh. And therefore, if you can't make an animal hekdesh, there's no din of ha'amada and ha'aracha. However, the Gemara in Erchin and Daf Chavtet tells us that if somebody did make an animal hekdesh bisman hazeh, what is he supposed to do? So some shittot say, just take the animal and starve it to death, let the animal die, and ta'akir, as the Hachamim say. Some say, let's say you consecrated fruit, so just let the fruit spoil. But Shmuel came along and said, Chidush. Shmuel said that if you have an animal that you consecrated, which you shouldn't have, but you did. So now you can take a coin and you can make a pidyon. You can take the kedusha off the animal, put it on a coin, via abed. Take the coin and throw it into Yam HaMelach, and that's it. We get rid of the kedusha. So the question over here regarding this mitzvah is the following. There's a rabbi called the Devar Avraham. The Devar Avraham has the following question. We have a law that says, let's say an animal, a person consecrated it, very well. It didn't become Baal Mum. It died. So now the law is, the Kohen cannot evaluate it. Why cannot a Kohen evaluate a dead animal? Just like he can evaluate a live animal, let him evaluate the dead animal. No, because the pasuk says ve'emid oto. Ve'emid oto teaches us that you have to stand it in front of the kohen. A dead animal, obviously, you cannot stand. So we learn a lesson over here that she says that the only time we make pidyon and ha'aracha and valuation is when we're able to make ha'amada. But if we cannot make ha'amada, we do not make ha'aracha. That's a klal. So ask the Devar Avraham, how could the Chinuch tell us that bisman hazeh, that if somebody consecrated an animal, let them make a pidyon, take the kedusha of the animal, put it on the coin. There's no ha'amada today, and if there's no ha'amada, then there's no need for pidyon. So he's asking the question on the Chinuch. The Devar Avraham says a big hadush. He says that which we say today, that an animal you cannot make ha'amada, it's not a problem with the animal. It's just because we don't have a Beit HaMikdash. But in theory, the animal is alive. It's worthy to bring in front of the Kohen. A dead animal, it's impossible to stand in front of the Kohen. So therefore, it's exempt from the laws of Ha'amada v'Haracha. But Bisman Hazeh, it's not we to make Ha'amada. I can bring the animal in front of the Kohen. It's just a technical reason. I can't do it because I don't have a Beit HaMikdash and I don't have the right to bring it on the Mizbeach. So therefore, it's Ra'ui, like the famous rule that says, Kol ha'ra'ui le'bilah. And therefore, this case over here, it's ra'ui leha'amada mitzad atzmo, even though I cannot do it. And therefore, he says, bisman hazeh, if somebody made something hekdesh, even though you won't make ha'amada, but since it's ra'ui mitzad atzmo to make ha'amada, the pidyon and the ha'aracha is made. Obviously, not an evaluation, but the pidyon of Shmuel, where you take the kedusha, put it on a coin, and then me'abed. Again, these laws do not apply in principle today. These remote laws that we don't have too much connection to it's connected to the laws of korbanot, which already have been unfortunately removed from us in the time of the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. But in the olden days, these laws were very, very, very common. This could be a law that happens every other day. Not so uncommon. A guy's an animal, gets a blemish. I mean, making assessments where it's an amazing thing, where mitzvot that was so available and so common in one generation are so remote to the extent when we start to even hear it, we tune out. We say, we don't even know what this guy's talking about. It's so far from us. But in the olden days, this would be like a regular, Ya'aleh v'yavo. If you forgot Ya'aleh v'yavo in the Amidah, this was considered a regular halakha that everybody would know, and they needed to know it. Ba'avonotenu harabim, that at least we can connect through the mitzvot. Like it says, that if we cannot connect through these mitzvot physically by actually following it, it's important to learn them at least. By learning them, we have a little attachment and a link to these mitzvot, and therefore we pray that one day, B'ezrat Hashem, in the zechut of the lip service that we're giving these mitzvot, B'ezrat Hashem will be able to give it actual service l'maaseh. Rabbi Aminu, Amen.